It's late, my darlings, it's late. Put your phone down, set the timer, and get ready to sleep. When the setting sun painted the stone walls of the Roman camp in a honey gold glow, the call for dismissal finally sounded, lazy and drawn out. Marcus dropped his heavy shield to the ground with a dull clang as the iron rim struck the flagstones, startling a few gray sparrows from the cracks in the wall. He rubbed his aching shoulders. The metal edge of his cuirass had pressed a shallow red line into his collarbone, like an uncomfortable necklace he had been forced to wear. Today's stone-throwing drill nearly killed me, Lucius grumbled beside him, tugging impatiently at the strap of his bronze helmet. The plume on top was bent crooked. That new centurion, his eyes are like a hawk's. Miss your mark once, and you're punished with shield runs around the field. He tucked the helmet under his arm, his curls damp with sweat, dust clinging to the ends of his hair. Marcus bent to unfasten the leather strap of his greave. With a sharp click, the buckle popped open, and relief spread instantly through his calf. At least it's better than last month, he said slowly, glancing toward the new recruits assembling in the yard, their armor still gleaming, untouched by dents. Remember last winter's phalanx charge drills? My knee was bruised for half a month from the man behind me slamming into me. The camp was growing lively again. Soldiers packing up in small groups, the clatter of metal mingling with laughter, and the drifting smell of flatbread from the kitchen like a stew thickening on the boil. A blond German auxiliary passed with a bundle of spears on his shoulder, his Latin heavily accented as he argued with a comrade, punctuating his words with friendly slaps on the arm. Look, Brutus is showing off his new dagger again, Lucius said, nodding toward a lanky soldier drawing a blade from its sheath. Sunlight glinted off the steel in a flash that made Marcus chuckle. He spent 3 months' pay on that, said he bought it off a Carthaginian merchant. Looks no different from the ones in the armory to me. The two men walked side by side toward the barracks, their shadows stretched long across the paving stones. Marcus kicked a pebble, sending it rolling into a corner where it disturbed a column of ants, carting away crumbs of bread. Want to hit Apollodorus Tavern tonight? Lucius asked suddenly, eyes gleaming. I hear he's got new mead brewed with thyme. Marcus hesitated, fingering the coin purse at his belt, only a few heavy copper coins inside. I have to send my pay home this month, he admitted quietly. My mother wrote to say the olive trees were blighted. She needs to buy new seedlings. Lucius clapped him on the shoulder. Don't worry, I'll buy you 2 drinks. Call it a celebration for winning the archery contest last week. At the barrack entrance, a few soldiers squatted over a clay bowl, dice rattling brightly inside. One shouted out when he saw them. Care for a round? Luck's on my side tonight. Lucius waved him off. Not tonight. We're off to the tavern. I'll lose money to you another time. The group laughed, and the dice clattered on, sharp against the evening air. Back at his cot, Marcus unbuckled his cuirass. A scrape of metal echoed clearly in the quiet barracks. He hung the armor on a wooden rack, its surface scarred and dented a map of drills and patrols. The deepest mark was a gouge on the left chest, left by a barbarian's axe in last year's skirmish, almost piercing through. He pulled a clean linen tunic from his chest, the fabric still carrying the scent of sun. As he changed, he caught sight of his back in the mirror. Faint scars, remnants of his early days in the Legion, when training had been too harsh. Back then, I thought being a soldier meant looking like the heroes in the myths, covered in wounds. He murmured with a wry smile at his reflection. Now I just hope to get off duty in one piece each day. Lucius had already changed, buckling a belt around his waist with a small wineskin hanging from it. Hurry up, he urged. If we're late, the tavern will be packed. Last time we had to drink sitting on the steps outside. Marcus grabbed his cloak and followed him out. The sun was almost gone, the sky softening into pink and orange. The camp's horn sounded again, reminding soldiers to return before curfew. We've got to be back before then, Marcus said. Remember that guy last week who got drunk and slept outside? 3 days in the guardhouse. Lucius shrugged, unconcerned. Relax. Apollodorus' place is close. We'll be back in time. At the gate, the sentry gave them a knowing nod, a half-smile on his face. Clearly, soldiers slipping out for a drink was the most ordinary thing in the world. Beyond the gate, a trickle of off-duty men in tunics headed down the road, laughter and chatter running through the dusk like a stream. Marcus drew in a deep breath. The evening breeze cooled his face, washing away the fatigue of the day's drills. In the distance, the town's lamps were flickering to life, like stars scattered across the dark. Tell me, he asked Lucius suddenly, when we retire, do you think we'll miss these nights walking out for a drink after duty? Lucius paused, then laughed. Maybe, but I think I'll miss not waking up early for drills even more. They both laughed, their steps lighter as they headed toward town. The last rays of the sun spilled over them, stretching their shadows far ahead. Two ordinary men, walking toward ordinary pleasures. In the Roman camp, there were always moments like this, when the weight of armor was set aside, when soldiers became just men again, and the day's tension melted away into tavern light and a friend's laughter, turning war's hardness into the gentleness of daily life. When the wooden tavern door swung open, the copper bell jingled brightly. Apollodorus, the owner, was polishing clay cups with a rough cloth. Seeing them step inside, he waved cheerfully. Today's mead has thyme in it. Lucius will love it. Behind the bar hung strings of dried olives and rosemary. In a corner, clay jars of fermenting grape juice bubbled quietly. The air carried a mix of yeast and pine resin, the kind of smell Roman soldiers knew by heart, far better than the leather stink of camp. Lucius, moving like a regular, picked a window seat. The edges of the wooden table were polished smooth, glossy from years of elbows and spilled wine. Scrawled names were carved clumsily into the surface. 2 meads, and bring olives and roasted chickpeas, he called out, then turned to Marcus. Their chickpeas are just right crispy outside, soft inside, nothing like the camp mess. Marcus slung his cloak over the chair. Beneath the table, he noticed a small legion insignia scratched into the wood, probably left by a drunk soldier. Didn't you once say your sister married a baker? He asked, remembering Lucius' family talk. Lucius nodded, drumming his fingers lightly. Yeah, they're bakeries in the south of town. They've just had a son. I haven't met him yet. Apollodorus came over with the drinks and food. The mead shimmered amber in the clay cups, tiny bubbles rising at the rim. Enjoy, he grinned, flashing neat teeth. I saw a few lads from the German cohort come in just now. They over there. He pointed, and Marcus spotted a group of blonde soldiers, laughing in a mix of Latin and Germanic. They earned it, Lucius said after a sip, smacking his lips. Last month they did well on the frontier. Heard the centurion gave them 3 days' leave. Marcus took a cautious drink. The honey sweetness and thyme aroma spread warmly through his chest. Still can't get used to their food, he admitted softly. Last time I saw one rub salt on raw meat and eat it straight. My stomach turned. Lucius chuckled. Spend a patrol with them, and you'll see out in the wild meat's meat. Still, their dried cuts are good. Keep forever, and the flavor grows as you chew. He popped a roasted chickpea into his mouth. By the way, did you hear? New armor's coming. Supposed to be lighter, tougher. Marcus leaned in with interest. Really? When? Mine's nearly worn through. Lucius shrugged. Who knows? Officers always say soon, soon, but we wait months. Like the time they promised better rations only swapped barley bread for wheat bread. Still hard as stone. From the next table, 2 soldiers' voices rose in heated debate about the new paymaster. He's stingy, one said. Denied new leg wraps, said the old pair could last 6 months. They snapped the next day. His companion roared with laughter. That's nothing. He refused new fabric for the standards, said the old ones would last another year. Lucius and Marcus exchanged a glance and laughed. "Every legion's got a miser like that," Lucius muttered. "Our last one was worse, replaced olive oil with cheap stuff." Half the camp had stomach trouble. Even the centurion complained, and the legate finally had to intervene. The tavern filled quickly, voices in many tongues, cups clinking, Apollodorus shouting orders. The noise blended into a city symphony. In a corner, a lutenist plucked gentle strings, weaving a tender melody through the bustle. "Look at the man at the door," Lucius nodded discreetly. Marcus turned. A figure in a red cloak, embroidered with gold trim, scanned the room. "That's the governor's chief guard," Lucius whispered. "He won a chariot race yesterday. Walked off with a heavy purse." Soon the man joined his fine-clad companions at the bar. Apollodorus hurried over with his best wine. Marcus muttered, "Unfair we fight and bleed at the frontier, while they drink in town." Lucius patted his shoulder. "Don't say that. At least we get to drink here, laugh here. They've got to guard their dignity every second." Just then, a German soldier approached, cup in hand, shy smile on his face. I am Carl," he said haltingly in Latin. "I hear you." "One archery contest," Marcus nodded, inviting him to sit. Carl beamed, but sat awkwardly, drinking more than talking. Lucius asked kindly, "Do you have contests back home?" Carl's eyes lit. With a mix of broken Latin and hand gestures, he explained, "Yes, in winter, in snow. If you shoot best, you win." Chief's daughter. Marcus and Lucius burst out laughing, and the tavern seemed to glow warmer for the small exchange. Night deepened, but the tavern lights only grew brighter, spilling golden glow onto the street outside. Marcus glanced through the window. The moon was high, silver, and round. "We should head back," he reminded. "Curfew." Lucius nodded, drained his cup, and rose to settle the bill. Outside, the night breeze cooled their faces, sobering them. Carl and his comrades stepped out too, waving cheerfully. "Tomorrow, on training field." Carl shouted, Latin clumsy, but full of goodwill. Marcus and Lucius waved back, walking side by side toward camp. On the road, Marcus thought of all the gossip and stories from the tavern. He realized these simple nights felt warmer than any tale of heroes. Every soldier carried his own story, his own burdens and joys, and the tavern, like a secret hollow in the world, kept them all safe, echoing with laughter and unspoken hearts. The first rays of sunlight had just climbed the watchtower of the camp when the cooks were already busy. Marcus woke to the smell of baking flatbread while Lucius was still snoring, drool trickling down his cheek like a tiny stream onto the pillow. Marcus nudged him. "Up you get. It's our turn to help in the kitchen. If we're late, the cook sergeant will have our hides." Lucius cracked open bleary eyes and yawned wide. 5 more minutes? Just 5. Marcus laughed and yanked his blanket off. "Don't push your luck. Remember last time?" A recruit showed up late and got stuck scrubbing pots all day. With a groan, Lucius swung out of bed, grumbling as he dressed. "I just hope today's bread is softer. Yesterday's was hard enough to use as a weapon." By the time they rushed into the cookhouse, the place was steaming. A huge copper cauldron bubbled with bean soup over the fire, while a few soldiers worked the millstones, grinding flour, muscles rippling with each push. The cook sergeant, a plump veteran named Septimius, had a kindly face but an iron standard when it came to food. "About time you two showed up," Septimius boomed. Marcus knead the dough. Lucius, chop wood, the fire's too low. Beans won't cook through. He stirred the pot with a long-handled ladle, the rising steam reddening his cheeks until he looked like a baked apple. Marcus rolled up his sleeves and sank his hands into a basin of risen dough, its warm, yeasty softness spreading through his fingers. "This batch looks good," he remarked to a soldier chopping olives beside him. How much yeast did you use? The soldier smiled. Septimius added extra, said today we should eat well. Meanwhile, Lucius hefted an axe in the woodshed, resin scent thick in the air. He set a log on the block and brought the blade down hard. The wood split with a sharp crack, showing pale rings inside. His stuff's tougher than the training posts, he muttered, rubbing his arm. The kitchen filled with aroma fresh bread, simmering beans, and roasting lamb blending like a gentle hand, stroking every stomach. Septimius pulled the lamb from the spit, slicing it into steaming chunks. Fat dripped onto the coals with a hiss, sending waves of savory smoke through the room. What's the occasion? Marcus asked, shaping the dough into pans. We've got lamb today. Septimius grinned proudly. Patrol got lucky yesterday, caught wild sheep in the hills. The legate gave us one for the mess. He popped a piece into his mouth and chewed with relish. Try it crispy outside, tender inside. Marcus bit into the lamb. The char and juicy meat melted together, better than any salt-preserved ration. This is amazing, he said honestly. Better than Apollodorus Tavern. Septimius chuckled. Naturally, I've cooked for 30 years. Back in Rome, even emperors tasted my food. Everyone knew this was his favorite boast. No one contradicted him after all. In the monotony of camp life, a cook with tall tailies made the hours brighter. Lucius returned with an armful of firewood, his eyes lighting up at the sight of lamb. We're in luck today. He reached eagerly for a piece only to have his hand smacked by Septimius. Wash first. Discipline, boy. Even soldiers need hygiene. Lucius stuck out his tongue and scurried for water, making the others laugh. When the horn sounded for breakfast, soldiers lined up outside, clay bowls and wooden spoons in hand. Cheers rose when they saw the meal, especially the lamb. What's the occasion? A recruit asked. You're lucky, an older legionary said. Spoils of patrol. Marcus and Lucius ladled food into bowls. Bread, bean soup, lamb. A German soldier took his share and murmured a shy thanks in Latin. Marcus smiled back. Eat plenty. There's enough today. The soldier's face lit with happiness as he hurried to join the others. Sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows, painting the floor in dappled patterns. Soldiers sat in small groups, eating and laughing, voices flowing like a stream. Marcus noticed Carl among them, clutching a flatbread, listening intently to Roman chatter, and nodding, smiling even when he didn't understand every word. See? Lucius nudged Marcus. Carl's fitting right in. Marcus grinned. That's thanks to our tavern chat. A little talk goes a long way. Septimius ambled over with his own bowl. That's how it should be, he said warmly. Roman, German, Gaul, it doesn't matter. In the camp, we're brothers. He sipped his bean soup and smacked his lips. Back in the Eastern legions, we had Romans, Greeks, Jews, Persians. Didn't share a language, but shared meals, training, battles, and bonds stronger than blood. Marcus asked curiously, how did you talk to each other? Septimius laughed. Hands, faces, sometimes doodles in the dirt. Somehow it always worked. Afterward, soldiers washed their bowls and spoons, stacking them neatly. Marcus and Lucius tidied the kitchen. Wood piled, no basins scrubbed. Sunlight warmed Marcus' face, and he thought how this life smoke at dawn, laughter over meals, sweat on the training ground, was simple yet rich in human warmth. Are we on kitchen duty again tomorrow? Lucius asked, wiping the table. Marcus shrugged. Not sure. But even if not, as long as Septimius cooks, I'll be happy. He swallowed at the memory of the lamb's flavor. From the doorway, Septimius watched them with a satisfied smile. Good work, boys, he said. Come by after training. I've saved honey cakes for you, made with the governor's honey. Marcus and Lucius lit up, eager with anticipation. As they stepped out, the horn for drills sounded. Soldiers streamed toward the training ground, orders echoing. Marcus watched their figures in the sun, listened to the rhythm of commands. He thought, these daily moments, smoke at breakfast, laughter at the table, sweat in drills, were the true pieces of life. Ordinary, yet warm. Real and beautiful, like sunlight turning camp smoke into gold. The afternoon sun had warmed the bathhouse stone floor by the time Marcus draped a towel over his shoulder and followed the crowd into the steamy chamber. The baths were one of the soldiers' favorite places, not only to wash away sweat and fatigue after drills, but also to relax and talk. Today was a rest day, so the bathhouse was especially lively, filled with bare-chested men laughing and chatting, their voices echoing in the mist. "Water's perfect today," Lucius said as he stripped, scanning the haze for an open spot. "Last week it was boiling. I thought I'd shed a layer of skin," Marcus chuckled. "That was your fault for jumping straight into the hottest pool." They found a spot near a window where sunlight spilled across the water, scattering golden ripples. Easing themselves into the warm pool, the heat lapped up to their shoulders, loosening tired muscles at once. Beside them, an old veteran scraped his legs with a bronze strigil, the tool making a raspy sound against skin. "What do you make of the new centurion?" he asked Marcus, eyes curious. Marcus sighed. "Too strict. Punishes us for the smallest thing. But they say he's fierce in battle. Once killed 3 barbarians alone at the frontier." The old soldier nodded. "Strict is good. On the battlefield, there's no mercy. My old centurion nearly worked us to death in training. But in battle, he was always first to charge, shielding us behind him." His gaze grew distant, lost in memory. A shame he fell in a siege. Otherwise he might have been a legate by now. Lucius, soaking happily, began to hum a love song popular in Rome. A Gaul nearby picked up the tune, his accent heavy, but his pitch true. "You know this song too?" Lucius asked, delighted. The Gaul nodded. "My Wykes likes it, I learned." Laughter rippled through the steam. A soldier appeared with a flask of olive oil, pouring a little into each palm. "Rub it on keeps the skin from drying." Marcus smoothed it over his arms, the warmth of his skin drinking in the oil. "So much better than the border camps," he said with relief. "There, it was cold water, only I nearly froze." Lucius chatted eagerly with the Gaul, asking about his homeland. "Forests. Many forests," the Gaul explained, gesturing wildly. "Winter. Deep snow. We hunt. We slide on snow." Lucius' eyes shone. "Sounds amazing. I've never even seen snow. One day I want to visit in winter." Steam thickened until everyone's cheeks glowed red. One soldier walked to the corner where a Masure, a muscular Nubian, waited. He lay on the stone slab as the man pressed hard into his back, joints popping. "Gentler, gentler," the soldier grimaced. "I came to relax, not suffer." The room burst out laughing, the Nubian grinning as he eased his pressure. Soon Marcus and Lucius rose to rinse in cold water. The icy cascade shocked them, making them shiver, but left them sharp and refreshed. "Perfect," Lucius said, shaking droplets from his hair. "I feel alive again." Marcus nodded, toweling off. "Let's lie down in the sun for a bit." The rest area was strewn with soft mats under high windows. Sunlight poured in, warm and drowsy. Soldiers lounged in groups, some chatting, some dozing, some gambling with dice. Marcus and Lucius stretched out, closing their eyes in rare peace. "What will you do after discharge?" Lucius asked suddenly, staring at the ceiling fresco of mythic scenes. Marcus thought, "Go home, buy land, grow olives like my father." Lucius smiled. "I'll open a tavern in Rome, like Apollodorus. Hear stories all day. Wouldn't that be grand?" An old veteran nearby chuckled. "Ah, youth and dreams. After 20 years of service, you'll just want quiet. Look here, this leg's still bad from a wound. Hurts if I walk too fast. No taverns, no olive groves for me." Marcus and Lucius fell silent, reminded of war's weight. But the veteran soon smiled again. Still worth it. 20 years' pay bought me a little farm. A wife, peace. One day you'll see simple safety is the best reward. In a corner, a knot of men surrounded a messenger from Rome. He told of the city as wonders. The emperor built a new arena. It holds 100,000 and can even stage naval battles. The soldiers gasped, imagining the spectacle. Marcus and Lucius joined, listening eagerly. The messenger spun tales of feasts, festivals, gossip. The camp filled with faraway dreams. Next leave, we must go, Lucius whispered, eyes shining. See that sea battle arena with our own eyes. By sunset, the bathhouse had emptied. Marcus and Lucius gathered their things and strolled back to barracks. The sky glowed orange-red, smoke curling up from campfires, supper smell drifting on the breeze. What a day, Lucius sighed, stretching. If only every day were like this. Marcus laughed. Dream on tomorrow the centurions teaching us a new formation. They groaned but smiled. In the pressure of camp life, such rest days were rare treasures. Warm water, easy talk, shared laughter, they seeped in like the bath itself, softening their hearts and giving them strength to face whatever tomorrow brought. As the morning sun spread across the camp square, the marketplace was already alive with noise and color. Vendors had raised their tents early, laying out all manner of goods. Fresh fruits, handmade pottery, gleaming jewelry, and spices and silks brought from far-off lands. Soldiers in plain clothes strolled in small groups from stall to stall, bargaining voices, vendors' cries, and children's laughter blending together like a cheerful melody. Look, honey cakes over there. Lucius tugged Marcus' arm, his eyes locked on a stall from which sweet aromas drifted. Marcus laughed. You only think of eating. Remember, today we're buying what we need, no wasting money. Lucius nodded, but his eyes stayed fixed on the cakes, mouth nearly watering. They stopped first at a vegetable stall run by a kindly old woman. Piles of green lettuce, red tomatoes, and golden pumpkins shone in the sunlight. All grown by my own hands, fresh as can be, she said warmly. Cheaper for soldiers, you boys work hard defending us. Marcus picked a few tomatoes and a bundle of lettuce. The old woman slipped in a small bunch of herbs. For your cooking, just a sprinkle makes it fragrant. Nearby, a pottery stall displayed jars, bowls, and cups of every size, painted with mythic scenes and landscapes. A young craftsman, busy glazing a jar, held up a small jug. This is my new marching flask narrow mouth, wide belly, holds plenty of water without spilling. Marcus examined it. Well made, with a tiny lid to keep out dust. How much? He asked. The craftsman named a price. A little high, Marcus thought, but his old flask leaked badly. He decided to buy. The craftsman smiled. I'll give you a discount. Just send your friends when they need pottery. Meanwhile, Lucius had drifted to a weapons stall, admiring a dagger in his hands. The stallholder, a retired veteran with a scar across his face, looked formidable. Made this myself, he said proudly. Forged from the best iron ore, polished for 49 days. Sharp enough to cut iron like butter. Lucius tested it on a bit of wood. The blade sliced cleanly, smooth as glass. How much? Lucius asked, eyes glowing. The veteran named a price. Lucius winced, putting it back. Too much. I don't make 3 months' pay in that. The old soldier chuckled. Quality costs. That dagger could save your life. Come back when you've saved enough. I'll keep it for you. In one corner, Nubian traders were selling spices and silks. Bright cloth shimmered in the sun, carrying an exotic scent. Silk from the east, one merchant declared, draping a purple bolt against Lucius. Wear this as a cloak, and you'll be the handsomest man in camp. Lucius stroked the patterns longingly, but sighed and set it down after feeling his thin purse. Marcus was drawn to a bookstall. The stall holder, a bespectacled scholar, explained volumes to curious soldier scrolls and codices on history, poetry, and military tactics. "This campaign of Alexander is excellent," he told Marcus. "Full of strategy and marching advice, you'd learn much." Marcus opened it. Neat script, fine illustrations. He had always loved history, though books were rare in camp. "How much?" he asked. The scholar named a price. Marcus hesitated, then thought it knowledge, after all, was priceless. By noon the market swelled with hungry men crowding food stalls. Marcus and Lucius found one selling grilled lamb, ordering 2 skewers and a flatbread. The smoky aroma was irresistible. "Delicious," Lucius mumbled around a mouthful. "Better than the camp mess." The vendor, a Gaul, beamed. "Secret recipe over a dozen spices from my grandmother." He handed them each a cup of wine. "From my homeland, perfect with lamb." Marcus tasted it. Was sweet, tangy, fruity, delightful. They ate and drank under a tree. Nearby, soldiers played a tossing game, laughter ringing. A German soldier hit the mark and leapt up, shouting in rough Latin, "I win! I win!" The crowd clapped, sharing his joy. "Today's perfect," Lucius said contentedly, patting his full belly. "If only there were markets every day," Marcus smiled. "Don't be greedy. Days like this are blessing enough." He gazed at the bustling scene, warmth filling his chest. Amid strict drills and tension, the marketplace was like sunlight bringing cheer, rest, and a taste of life's sweetness. As sunset reddened the sky, vendors packed their goods, soldiers carried their purchases back to barracks. Marcus held his new flask and history book. Lucius clutched a honey cake. Walking side by side, their shadows stretched long in the fading light. "At least what we bought is useful," Marcus said, satisfied. "The flask for water, the book for learning." Lucius bit his cake, speaking around a mouthful. "And mine's useful too. It fills my belly and makes me happy." Marcus burst out laughing, and their laughter echoed in the sunset, full of youthful spirit and love of life. The morning mist had not yet lifted when Marcus and Lucius were already geared up for duty. Today it was their turn to patrol the frontier. Before dawn, the call of the horn had dragged them from their beds. "Let's hope today goes smoothly," Lucius yawned, eyes still heavy. "I don't want any trouble." Marcus clapped his shoulder. "Relax, it's a routine patrol. Nothing will happen." The patrol numbered 10 men, led by a seasoned veteran named Marcus. Mounted on a horse, spear in hand, he surveyed them with stern eyes. "Stay sharp. The frontier is never truly safe. Remember our signals and responses. Report anything unusual immediately." The soldiers answered in unison, their voices loud against the silent morning. The column left the camp and followed a winding trail. Dew glistened on the grass by the roadside, sparkling in the morning light like scattered pearls. The air carried the freshness of grass and soil. "Look at those flowers," Lucius pointed to a patch of purple blossoms by the path. "Beautiful. Wonder what they're called." Marcus shook his head. "Not sure. Maybe ask the old cook, he knows all kinds of plants." After about an hour, they reached a small grove. Marcus signaled a halt, and the men lowered their packs, finding spots to sit. A young soldier tilted his flask and spilled a few drops, immediately drawing ants. "Careful," Marcus warned. "Don't waste water out here, and don't leave traces. Enemies notice everything." The soldiers nodded, taking out rations. Marcus chewed on flatbread, gazing at the mountains now revealed in sunlight, their peaks shining gold. "The view's worth it," he murmured. "Better than the barracks," Lucius grinned. "If only we were here for a picnic instead of patrol." When they resumed the march, Marcus told them stories of the frontier. Years ago, raiders came often swift on horseback, stealing and vanishing. But since we built watchposts and tightened patrols, things have calmed. He pointed at a hut on a distant hilltop. "That's one of ours? From there, you can see for miles." Suddenly, The two men scouting ahead raised their hands for silence. The air tensed, every soldier gripping his weapon. Marcus held his arm up, eyes sharp. "What is it?" Marcus whispered to the old veteran beside him. The man shook his head, weapon ready, gaze fixed ahead. Moments later, the scouts waved all clear a herd of deer, bounded out of the trees. Relief rippled through the group. Lucius patted his chest. "Scared me half to death. I thought it was raiders." Marcus shot him a glare. "On the frontier, you never dismiss a sound. If it had been raiders, you'd be dead already." Lucius dropped his eyes, chastened. By noon, they reached a small river. Marcus ordered a rest. Helmets came off, faces splashed into clear, cool water. Pebbles gleamed at the bottom. Fish darted between them. "So fresh," Lucius said, scooping up a drink. "Better than Camp Wells." Marcus drank too. The water was sweet and cold. They sat together for lunch. Marcus passed his wineskin, pouring a little for each man. "Warm yourselves, still a long march ahead." The wine spread comfort through their bellies, easing the morning's fatigue. Afterward, a few soldiers tried fishing. Marcus and Lucius wandered the riverbank, picking stones. Some were strange shapes, animals, flowers. "Look at this." Marcus held up a white stone veined with red, like an eagle spreading its wings. Lucius nodded. "Keep it, call it your charm." Marcus watched, amused. Patrol's hard, but take in the journey. Life's more than the barracks. See those plains? He pointed. By spring, herds will graze there. The afternoon trail was smoother. They moved quickly, scenery shifting from forest to open steppe. In the distance, nomads' tents dotted the green like white mushrooms. "Nomads," Marcus explained. "We don't bother them. They don't bother us. Sometimes we even trade." One herdsman spotted them and waved cheerfully. Marcus returned the greeting. "They're friendly. As long as we respect their land, they respect ours. On the frontier, peace is worth more than victory." The soldiers nodded, watching cattle and sheep roaming freely. By sunset, the patrol turned back. The sky glowed orange-red, long shadows stretching across the grass. "What a good day," Lucius said brightly. "No trouble at all," Marcus nodded. "That's what we want. Our job is to guard peace, not seek fights." On the return trail, the men's voices were light, laughter echoing across the plain. Marcus watched the sun sink, his heart calm. He realized patrol was not just duty, it was life. A chance to see new sights, meet other cultures, and learn to cherish their own camp even more. Night had fallen when they returned. Lights glowed in the barracks. Marcus and Lucius dropped their heavy gear, bodies aching. "Exhausting, but worth it," Lucius sighed with a smile. "We saw such beauty, learned so much." Marcus nodded, collapsing into bed. Sleep took him quickly, filled with dreams of sunsets on the steppe and herds running free. The morning sun had barely touched the barracks when Marcus was jolted awake by a commotion. Rubbing his eyes, he saw Lucius bustling with excitement, hurriedly packing his things. "Get up. Today's the festival of Minerva. The camp's holding celebrations." Lucius' voice brimmed with joy. "I heard there'll be gladiatorial shows and a feast." Marcus shook off his sleep at once and jumped from his bed. Minerva, goddess of wisdom and protector of soldiers, was honored across Rome every year. For them, it meant a rare day without drills, a chance to relax. No wonder the cooks slaughtered so many sheep yesterday. Marcus laughed as he dressed. After a quick wash, they hurried to the camp square, already buzzing with activity. Soldiers were building a stage, decorating columns, rehearsing skits. At the center stood a statue of Minerva, surrounded by flowers and branches, solemn and proud. "Look, roast lamb." Lucius pointed to one corner, where the kitchen crew turned whole sheep over coals, fat dripping with a hiss, rich aroma flooding the square. The morning began with the ritual. The legate, robed in finery, offered gifts before Minerva's statue and prayed. Soldiers stood in ranks, solemn, attentive. When the rites ended, the legate declared the festival open, and cheers erupted across the square. First came a weapons display. Veterans wielding spears, swords, and shields, each move sharp and practiced, drawing loud applause. "Incredible," Lucius whispered, wide-eyed. "When will I fight like that?" Marcus clapped his shoulder. "Keep training. You'll get there." Next was a gladiatorial show, not a real death match, but thrilling nonetheless. Two soldiers in armor fought with wooden swords and shields, their movements crisp, almost theatrical. When one emerged victorious, he was crowned with a wreath and raised it proudly to the crowd. By noon, the feast began. Soldiers crowded long tables laden with roasted lamb, stewed beef, grilled fish, salads, fruits, and sweets. The kitchen staff bustled with smiles, serving food to all. "A banquet fit for gods," Marcus said, tearing into lamb. Lucius was already stuffing his mouth. "So good, I'm eating till I burst." With wine flowing, music soon followed. A soldier plucked a lute, lively tunes ringing through the square. Men clapped in rhythm, some breaking into dance. Lucius dragged Marcus up, and the two stumbled into the beat, laughing at their own clumsy steps. Marcus pointed at a blond German soldier, dancing with surprising grace. "Look at him much better than us," Lucius grinned. No argument there. In another corner, games were in full swing, tossing jars, dice, tug-of-war. Marcus and Lucius joined a tugging team. At the judge's call, both sides heaved mightily. Marcus' veins bulged. Lucius shouted encouragement. With one last pull, their side won, collapsing into embraces and cheers. The afternoon brought even more variety. Storytelling contests, poetry recitals, a military quiz. Marcus entered the quiz, drawing on his knowledge to win a prize-a-slim tactics manual. "My first award," he said, proud and smiling. Lucius, meanwhile, won a honey cake for his storytelling, which he happily shared with Marcus. By evening, the celebrations peaked. Bonfires roared in the square. Soldiers circled them singing and dancing. Even the legate joined, drinking and laughing among his men. "A day of joy," he proclaimed, raising his cup. "May we celebrate here again next year. Long live the glory of Rome." Soldiers cheered, raising cups high, voices echoing into the night. Marcus and Lucius leaned against a tree, watching the firelight and happy throngs. Warmth filled their hearts. "Days like this are perfect," Lucius said softly. "No drills, no patrols, just joy and friendship." Marcus nodded. "I wish for more days like this, too." Looking at the stars above, he silently prayed that peace might last forever. By midnight, the festivities faded. Soldiers returned to their quarters, merry and slightly drunk. Marcus lay on his bunk, replaying the day in his mind, a smile tugging at his lips. In the strain of camp life, such festivals were like sunlight breaking through clouds, brightening their hearts with friendship and joy. Tomorrow drills would return, but with these memories, Marcus knew he had strength to face whatever came. The morning sunlight slipped through the barracks window when Marcus awoke to find an envelope placed on his bedside table. His heart leapt. He knew it was a letter from home. Since joining the army, letters had become his most cherished treasure. Everyone carried his family's love and warmth across the distance. Marcus tore it open eagerly. Inside was his mother's familiar handwriting, neat and graceful. As he unfolded the sheet, the faint fragrance of ink rose to meet him. "My dearest son Marcus," the letter began, asterisk, "we were so glad to receive your last message. Knowing you are well in camp has eased our worries." His eyes grew wet. After so long away, family was what he missed most. His mother wrote of life back home. His father was healthy and still worked the fields every day. His younger sister had learned to weave, and her cloth had drawn praise from neighbors. The family's olive trees, though plagued by pests, were recovering under his father's care. "The money you sent arrived safely," she wrote. Asterisk, "We bought new saplings with some of it, and the rest we've saved for you until you return after your service." Warmth filled Marcus' chest. He remembered how his mother always saved the best for him when he was little. Now, finally, he could give something back. "Everything is fine here. Don't worry about us," she urged. Asterisk, "Train hard, obey your officers, avoid trouble. Take care of your health, and don't push yourself too much." The letter also carried small news from the village. A neighbor's son had married a beautiful bride. The village well had been repaired, making life easier. The year's harvest was bountiful, and spirits were high. She added that his little sister missed him dearly, often asking when he would come home, and had even drawn a picture for him. Flipping the sheet over, Marcus saw the drawing. Though simple, it clearly showed a soldier returning to embrace his family. A lump rose in his throat. He longed for home for them. Quietly, he vowed to serve well, finish his duty, and return to be with them again. Just then, Lucius walked in and spotted the letter. "From home? How are they?" he asked with a smile. Marcus nodded and handed it over. "My mother says all is well. And look, my sister drew me this." Lucius examined it carefully, envy flickering across his face. "You're lucky. I haven't had a letter from Rome in ages. I don't know how my family is." Marcus knew Lucius' family lived in the city of Rome, and distance made letters less frequent. "Don't worry," he reassured him. "They're surely fine. Maybe your letter is already on its way." Lucius nodded, though worry lingered in his expression. Marcus suddenly remembered something, pulling a small piece of honey cake from his pocket. "This was left from yesterday's festival. Here, eat it. Maybe a bit of sweetness will bring your letter sooner." Lucius took it gratefully. "Thank you, Marcus. You're a true friend." He bit into the cake, its sweetness filling his mouth, his heart warming too. "When my letter comes, you'll be the first to know," he promised, eyes shining with hope. After the morning drills, Marcus returned to the barracks and reread his mother's words. Each line wrapped him in comfort. He resolved to write back, to tell them of life in the camp, of how training was hard but rewarding, of the good friends he had made, especially Lucius. He wanted to share the joy of the recent festival, and most of all, his longing for home. Asterisk, "Please don't worry. I promise to take care of myself." Asterisk, he wrote at the end. Asterisk, "When I finish my service, I will return to you and never part again. I love you, my family." He folded the letter carefully into an envelope, ready for the messenger. Looking out at the bright sunlight, he felt hope. Whatever hardships camp life brought, a thought of his family's love gave him strength. Letters were like invisible threads, binding him to home, carrying its warmth into his distant barracks. That afternoon, the messenger arrived. Marcus handed him the letter, along with a few extra coins. "Please, deliver it quickly. My family will be waiting." The messenger nodded with a smile. "Don't worry, it'll reach them soon. They'll be overjoyed." Marcus watched him leave, heart full of anticipation, imagining his family's delight when they read his words, and already longing for the next letter in return. In camp, many soldiers shared that same longing. Letters were not just messages. They were lifelines of the heart. For men far from home, they carried warmth and love across distance. In the harsh rhythm of army life, it was these ties of family and memory that gave them strength to endure for their loved ones, for their villages, and for the peace of the Roman Empire. Night fell like a black curtain draped slowly over the camp. Clouds thickened in the sky, lightning tearing across the darkness from time to time, flashing against the distant mountains. Soon, heavy raindrops pelted the barracks' roofs with a dull, relentless drumming. Tonight, it was Marcus and Lucius' turn to keep watch, and on such a stormy night, The duty promised to be long and harsh. Just our luck, getting the watch on a night like this, Lucius grumbled, pulling his cloak tighter against the cold and wet. I'd rather be in a warm bed than freezing out here. Marcus chuckled. Don't complain. Guard duty is our job. Besides, nights like this are when enemies are most likely to strike. We need to be more vigilant than ever. They donned their rain cloaks, grabbed their weapons, and climbed the watchtower. From up high, they could see the whole camp and the lands around it. Rain poured down the tower's eaves and curtains, blurring the view. Marcus lifted his scope and scanned the distance. The storm's roar of rain and wind drowned out most other sounds, making it hard to detect anything unusual. You think enemies would move in weather like this? Lucius asked, rubbing his chilled hands. Marcus shook his head. Hard to say, but we can't risk lowering our guard. Last time on the frontier, it was a night like this when raiders struck while we were relaxed. They sacked an outpost and stole supplies. Lucius nodded silently and kept his eyes fixed on the darkness. The storm worsened. Wind lashed the tower so violently that Marcus and Lucius had to clutch the railing to keep steady. Feels like the whole world is drowning in this rain, Lucius muttered. Marcus felt unease too, but he steadied himself on watch. Calm and vigilance were everything. Then came a noise strange, muffled, drifting from the forest beyond. Marcus raised his hand sharply, signaling silence. They held their breath, straining to listen. The sound grew nearer, as if several figures were moving through the wet undergrowth. Something's there, Marcus whispered, gripping his spear. Be ready. Lucius drew his dagger, tense, eyes fixed on the trees. Soon shapes emerged, dim at first, then clearer. Not soldiers, not raiders. Ragged figures stumbling closer in the rain. Old men, women, children soaked through, faces pale with exhaustion and fear. They look like civilians, Lucius said with relief. Not enemies, Marcus kept wary. Wait, don't assume. Watch carefully. As they drew closer, the truth was plain. Villagers, beaten down by disaster. One elder stepped forward, voice trembling through the storm. We are from the village nearby. Tonight, raiders burned our homes. We fled into the night. We begged shelter. His words carried grief and terror. Behind him, others nodded, eyes full of despair. Marcus and Lucius exchanged a glance, sympathy filling both. Come in out of the rain, Marcus said firmly. We'll report to the commander. He sent Lucius to alert the other soldiers while he led the villagers inside. Soon they were settled into an empty barrack, steaming bowls of food and hot water from the kitchen, restoring some warmth to their limbs. The elder's eyes shone with gratitude. Thank you, kind soldier. You've saved us. Marcus shook his head. It is our duty. We are sworn to protect the people. Yet inside, his heart ached. War tormented not only soldiers, but also innocents who lost homes and peace. He silently vowed to defend the frontier more fiercely, to keep such tragedies from repeating. Gradually, the rain eased, and pale dawn stretched across the horizon. Marcus and Lucius stood again on the tower, watching light seep into the sky. Both exhaled, relief softening their tired faces. We made it through, Lucius said with a weary smile. Exhausting, but it feels worth it, Marcus nodded. Helping them makes it meaningful. By sunrise, the camp gleamed fresh under the rain. The villagers, though weary, now had smiles as they rested safely. The Legion commander came to see them, listened to their plight, and ordered scouts to trace the raiders' trail and strengthen defenses. You did well, he told Marcus and Lucius. A Roman soldier must fight bravely, but also show compassion, protecting our people. Pride swelled in their chests. The night had been grueling, but to bring shelter and hope to the helpless made every hardship worthwhile. They understood. A soldier's duty was not just to guard borders, but to safeguard lives. On that stormy night, They were not only watchmen, they were guardians. Back in the barracks, exhaustion finally claimed them. Marcus and Lucius fell into deep sleep, hearts full and dreams, peaceful dreams without war, only calm and safety. That night taught them the true meaning of service and the quiet joy of helping others. The memory would remain, one of the most treasured moments of their lives in arms. Morning sunlight flooded the camp as Marcus and Lucius packed their belongings. Today was their retirement day. Their 20 years of military service had finally come to an end. "I can't believe it," Lucius sighed, holding up a battered old piece of armor covered with scratches and rust. "We're finally leaving this place. Every mark here holds our youth and sweat." Marcus nodded, his eyes filled with mixed emotions, joy at leaving, but also a deep attachment to the camp. For 20 years, this had been his home. Here he had spent his best years, made loyal friends, and lived through unforgettable moments. "Yes, time flies," he murmured, picking up a yellowed letter, his very first from home. "Remember when we enlisted? We were just green boys. Now we're old veterans." Soldiers gathered to see them off, faces full of reluctance. "Come back and visit us," a young recruit said. "We'll miss you," Marcus smiled. "We will. This will always be our home." He and Lucius embraced each of them in farewell, eyes glistening with tears. The Legion commander arrived, presenting them with retirement certificates and medals to honor their service. "You are Rome's pride," he said solemnly. 20 years of loyal service have helped secure peace for the Empire. I wish you happiness in the life ahead." Marcus and Lucius saluted him sharply, grateful for his guidance all these years. On the road out of camp, they turned for one last look. The place where they had lived for 2 decades stood solemn and beautiful in the sunlight. "Hard to leave," Lucius admitted with a hint of sadness. "I don't know if we'll ever return." Marcus patted his shoulder. "Don't be sad. We're beginning a new chapter. That should make us glad." They walked along the familiar path. The scenery was unchanged, yet it all felt strangely new. "Let's go to Rome first," Lucius suggested, eyes alight with excitement. "I want to see that great arena that can stage naval battles." "And taste the city's food," Marcus laughed. "Good idea. I've heard Rome is more magnificent than words can describe." After some days in Rome, full of wonder, the two parted ways. Marcus would return to his hometown, while Lucius would remain in the city to pursue his dream of opening a tavern. "We must keep in touch," Lucius said, gripping Marcus' hand firmly. "When my tavern opens, you must come as my guest." Marcus nodded. "I will. Once I'm settled, I'll come." Back in his village, Marcus was welcomed with joy. His mother embraced him in tears. His father clapped his shoulder proudly, and his sister, now grown into a lovely young woman, peppered him with questions. Their happiness made all the hardships worthwhile. Marcus bought land and planted olive trees, following his father's path, living a peaceful rural life. He often wrote to Lucius about farm work and family life, while Lucius wrote back with tales of his thriving tavern, which many old comrades visited to drink and reminisce. One spring, Marcus received an invitation. Lucius' tavern was celebrating its 5th anniversary. Excited, Marcus packed his bag and journeyed to Rome. The city was even more vibrant than he remembered, streets bustling with carts and crowds. Lucius' tavern, in the city center, was packed with customers, mostly veterans. Spotting Marcus, Lucius rushed over, arms wide. "You made it. I thought you might not come." He laughed, hugging him. "Here, try my new wine. It's excellent." Comrades gathered round, laughing and recalling their years in camp. "Remember that rainy night on watch?" Lucius asked, eyes gleaming with memory. Cold and miserable, yet somehow meaningful. Marcus smiled. "Of course. One of my most unforgettable nights as a soldier." When the celebration ended, Marcus and Lucius sat on the terrace, gazing over Rome's nightscape. "Time has flown," Marcus said softly. We're older now, but those camp days feel like yesterday. Lucius nodded. They were hard, but full of purpose. And they gave us friendship. They made a pact to meet every year, to share their lives, and relive their memories. No matter how far we go, Marcus said, we'll always be comrades and friends. Lucius raised his cup to our friendship and to those unforgettable years. Cheers! Their cups clinked, the clear sound mingling with their laughter, two old soldiers treasuring the warmth of memory. Under Rome's lamplight, their shadows stretched long into the night. Their friendship, like the city's lights, glowed warm and eternal. Though their service had ended, the years in the camp, their laughter, struggles, and tears would live on forever, the most precious treasure of their lives.